The desert was cool at night. The heat of the day bled into a biting cold, and the winds howled through the narrow streets of the market town like hungry wolves. Most of the traders had already shuttered their stalls, their lamps blown out, their goods hidden away. Only a few stragglers wandered the alleys, clutching their cloaks tightly. Daniel was used to the rhythm of this place. He was no merchant, no nobleman, just a wanderer who worked odd jobs, trading sweat for bread. Tonight, he was returning from a long day of carrying crates in the harbor district when he noticed her. At first, she looked like nothing more than another beggar, a woman wrapped in dusty rags, her face shadowed beneath a hood. She carried a satchel so worn it seemed ready to fall apart, and she stumbled as if she hadn't eaten in days. People passed her without sparing a glance. Some muttered insults, others shoved her out of the way. Daniel stopped. Something tugged at him. Perhaps it was a bearing, strange for a beggar. She held her head high, her posture straight, even though her steps faltered. He stepped closer. "Need a hand?" She toned, and in that moment, the world seemed to still. Her eyes caught the dim light of a lantern, eyes that shone not with hunger or despair, but with an intensity that unsettled him. They were deep, luminous, carrying the weight of ages. "Yes," she whispered at last, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "Thank you." Daniel took the satchel from her and nearly staggered. It was far heavier than it looked, filled with something metallic. But he didn't ask. He simply slung it over his shoulder and gestured down the street. "My place isn't far. You'll freeze out here." She followed without protest. His home was small, a single room above a carpenter's workshop. It had no luxuries, only a narrow bed, a cracked table, and a fire that he quickly stoked to life. He set food before her, bread, a bowl of broth. She ate slowly, deliberately, as though every bite was measured. He watched her curiously. Her features were striking, even under dote and rags. There was a refinement in her manner, a grace she could not disguise. "You don't belong here, do you?" he asked gently. Her gaze flicked up. For a moment, he thought she would lash out or leave. Instead, she only said, "Does it matter?" "No," he admitted with a shrug. "Not to me." That was the beginning. Days turned to weeks. She gave her name only as Serafina. She said little of herself, though her accent was unlike any Daniel had heard in the region. At first, she was wary, speaking in clipped sentences. But gradually she softened. She began asking questions about the town, about the markets, about the people. She watched everything with keen eyes, as though studying the world. Daniel found himself drawn to her, though he never admitted it. She was unlike anyone he had met, at times stern and commanding, at times almost childlike in her curiosity. She struggled to sew, laughed when she tried to cook and burn the bread, and once spent an entire evening staring at the stars through his small window. But there were moments, too, when he sensed something vast and dangerous behind her silence. A power held in check. One night, the peace shattered. The sky lit up with fire as ships descended, massive, black-hulled vessels bristling with weapons. The ground trembled as they landed outside the town. Panic spread through the streets. People fled, shouting of an invasion. Soldiers in obsidian armor poured into the market square, demanding surrender, demanding the presence of someone called the Empress. Daniel tried to drag Serafina away, but she stopped him. Her hood fell back, and for the first time he saw her fully. Her hair shimmered like molten silver, her skin glowed faintly under the moon, and her eyes, those eyes he could never forget, burned like suns. The soldiers dropped to one knee instantly. "Your Majesty," their commander stammered. "We have found you." Daniel froze. "Majesty?" Serafina's expression hardened into steel. She stepped forward, her voice ringing with authority. "I told you not to search for me," she said coldly. "But since you are here, see this man." She turned and pointed to Daniel. "He gave me shelter when all others turned away. He fed me when I had nothing. He is under my protection now, and you will treat him as you treat me." The commander bowed lower, sweat glistening on his brow. "As you command, Empress." Daniel's mind reeled. Empress. She wasn't just some noble in hiding. She was a ruler, the sovereign of worlds, richer than all queens combined, feared across a galaxy. And she had been living in his tiny room, eating his stale bread, wearing borrowed clothes. He looked at her, at the woman who had shared his fire, who had laughed at burnt bread, who had asked if kindness still existed in the world. You're their ruler, he whispered. She turned to him, her face softening. Yes, but more than that, I am yours. In the days that followed, Daniel's life changed beyond recognition. The fleet carried them to a palace among the stars, a citadel of crystal and gold, spanning an entire city suspended in orbit. Everywhere he turned, nobles bowed, servants hurried, treasures glittered. He was offered jewels, silks, power beyond measure. But Seraphina remained the same with him. She never let the crown, the armies, or the riches come between them. In private, she was still the woman who once asked him if it mattered who she was. One evening, in a hall that could have held his entire hometown, she came to him dressed in royal finery. You saved me without knowing what I was, she said softly. Not because of power, or wealth, or fear, but because you are kind. That is rarer than all the treasures in the galaxy. That is why I choose you. Daniel smiled faintly, still overwhelmed. I don't know how to be anything more than what I am. Then be that, she replied, taking his hand, because what you are is everything I need. And so, the man who once lived in a single-room loft on the edge of nowhere became a companion of the most powerful ruler alive, not through ambition, not through force, but through a simple act of kindness to a stranger. To the galaxy, she was the empress, richer than any queen, feared and worshipped across 1,000 stars. But to him, she would always be Seraphina, the woman he had helped on a cold night when no one else would. And that, he thought, was the greatest treasure of all.